all the latest from around the world and here at home now. It's the ITV News.
The Health Secretary confirms tonight he has caught COVID. Sajid Javid says he's suffering mild symptoms and is now isolating.
Hi everyone, I just wanted to update you all that I've tested positive for COVID. I was feeling a bit groggy last night, so I took a lateral flow test this morning and it's come out positive.
Also tonight, holidays to France under threat as the government U-turns on quarantine.
I think it's a disaster. I think they should stop this whole thing. It's ridiculous now.
Rescuers search for the hundreds still missing after Europe's devastating floods, which left thousands more homeless. And with sunshine like this, some are glad to be holidaying at home.
I think it's lovely. I mean, look at the weather. You've got the sea over there. What's the difference between here and Spain?
This is ITV News with Romilly Weeks.
Good evening. The Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, has tested positive for COVID-19 less than 48 hours before lockdown restrictions come to an end in England. For the second day running, more than 50,000 new cases of COVID have been confirmed in the UK. Mr. Javid is self-isolating and confirmed the results of a second test in the past few minutes. That raises questions over who else in government may now have to isolate as well. Our political correspondent David Wood has the latest.
Hi everyone, I just wanted to update you all that I've tested positive for COVID.
He promised England Freedom Day on Monday, but now the new Health Secretary will be confined at home for it.
I'm grateful that I've had 2 jabs of the vaccine, and so far my symptoms are very mild.
With his positive test confirmed tonight, contact tracing will start.
Sajid Javid to make a statement.
And it's been a busy week for the Health Secretary. On Monday he updated MPs on the pandemic. The next day he was at a care home in London.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
And as the week went on, there were more appearances in the Commons. Yesterday, it's reported he was in Downing Street, where the PM had been working too. So many potential contacts then of Mr. Javid. Opposition parties say his isolation is proof some COVID restrictions should be kept.
It actually serves as a very timely reminder that although the government might want us to think that we are out of this, we are not by a long way.
And my worry is that the policy of lifting everything on Monday is going to be a survival of the fittest policy.
And as many make the most of the summer sun, COVID cases continue to rocket. More than 54,000 were reported today, and despite that, restrictions in England will still ease on Monday. The legal requirement to wear masks will be axed. All limits on social contact go. The guidance on working from home is being scrapped, and there'll be no cap on the numbers of people at events.
It does feel quite reckless to take such huge steps on Monday, and there are real concerns from all the NHS bodies, social care, trade unions, etc., about the impact that is going to have on the public and also on the pressure on the NHS and social care services.
To increase protection, adults who've not had the jab are being asked to step up to the wicket and get one. The Oval Cricket Ground in London has a grab a jab clinic this weekend, and in Bristol the injection is on offer whilst out clothes shopping.
If you haven't had your jabs yet, please get out there and get them as soon as you can.
But the Health Secretary has now completed day 1 of 10 in self-isolation. David Wood, ITV News.
There's anger over a last-minute change to quarantine rules affecting people coming back to England and Wales from France. Holidaymakers now face 10 days of self-isolation, even if they've been double jabbed. It throws into doubt the holiday plans of thousands of people just as schools break up for the summer. Neil Connery reports.
At London St Pancras today, Eurostar travellers heading for France were taking stock of the new rules. From Monday, those fully jabbed, returning to England and Wales from France, will still have to quarantine. Some were angry at the news.
It's disappointing because I'm double vaccinated and I thought that as of Monday it would be all right and I'd be able to come back and not have to self-isolate. It's just a lot of money and yeah, worrying.
I think there's no consistency in the rules. Like, we just don't get it. It changes from one moment to another. It just can't follow up.
I think it's a disaster. I think they should stop this whole thing. It's ridiculous now. We've got to live with the virus.
From Monday, if you enter England and Wales from an amber list country and you've been double jabbed, you don't need to quarantine, but you do need a day 2 test. France remains on the amber list, but under different rules. Everyone travelling from there must isolate at home for up to 10 days and take at least 2 COVID tests. Abby Longstaff is going to France tomorrow to see her dying mother Robin after receiving a call from her care home this week. She's angry at the new measures at a stressful time for her family.
It makes you so anxious when you don't hear of any changes till such last minute, and it feels like late last night was so little notice for changes that are coming in on Monday, and it's so difficult for so many people, not just me, so many people.
The allure of a French holiday after the past 16 months has appealed to many, but the travel industry says these sudden changes will destroy customer confidence.
We were completely blindsided by this one. No one had any expectation that 8:30 on a Friday night we would receive such news that would cause so much chaos.
The new rules are over concerns about persistent cases of the beta variant of COVID in France.
We've got to do all measures possible to remove from circulation variants that cause severe disease and or bypass vaccines and or are more infectious.
The government here says it won't hesitate to take rapid action at borders to stop the spread of COVID and to protect the gains made by the vaccination programme. Neil Connery, ITV News.
David, both these issues are tricky for the government, and now presumably the hunt is on for who else in government may have to isolate.
Yes, it is, and I think there'll be a fair few nervous ministers and advisers this evening wondering if they're going to get that call or the ping from the NHS COVID app. This certainly isn't the image the government wanted going into such a major easing of restrictions. On France, to try and prevent the beta variant even coming in, the government says it had to act quickly and says it understands the criticism it's getting, but it did the right thing. And of course, the meetings for that, well, Sajid Javid will have been at those meetings over the past couple of days. A key question tonight that's unanswered: was he on his own? Was he taking part remotely? Or was he in a room full of other ministers or advisers? It's only been half an hour or so since he said he had that positive PCR test, so test and trace won't have kicked in yet, but it will start to gather speed and start to work out where he's been, who he's been with. In the House of Commons, in the Chamber, MPs are socially distanced when they're sat and they wear masks. So it's unlikely that will have affected anyone, but it is an extraordinary situation, just a few days away from people in England having more freedom than they've had since the beginning of this pandemic, and the Health Secretary has the virus.
Absolutely. Thanks for that. Rescuers across Europe are racing to try and find survivors of yesterday's devastating floods. 160 people are now known to have died and hundreds more are missing. But officials believe some may be safe but unaccounted for because mobile phone networks are still down. Vincent McAviney has the details.
In Western Europe, the search for survivors continues. At least 160 people have died, and hundreds are still missing after days of destruction. Officials say some of those missing or unaccounted for may well be safe, but cannot inform families because the mobile networks are also down. The flood's power also washing away people's homes and their livelihoods along with it. In Belgium, they're searching through what's left of their belongings. We are devastated, said this resident. This is our living room. We can see how high the water has been. The water was so high. In Germany, a refuge centre, gathering what they can for the thousands now homeless. Outside, the military have been called in to clear what remains. Visiting Erfstadt, the German president said it was a time of hardship, but the country is standing together. The people here are trusting that the solidarity that is being signalled will hold on, even when the headlines of newspapers won't be dominated by the catastrophe anymore. Only in the days to come will we see what damage remains. While parts of the Netherlands have declared a national emergency, experts say this extreme weather is down to climate change. But it'll be days before leaders can assess the full extent of the damage. And for residents, it's damage that'll take months to recover from. Vincent McAviney, ITV News.
Sport, and St Helens have lifted one of Rugby League's most prestigious trophies.
St Helens are Challenge Cup winners again.
They beat Castleford 26 points to 12 in an action-packed match at Wembley. It's the 13th time St Helens have won the trophy. And Formula One history was made during qualifying for tomorrow's British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Max Verstappen won the new sprint, a shorter race to decide the starting order for tomorrow's big competition. Lewis Hamilton was second. And finally, if you thought it was a scorcher today, you're right. All four nations recorded their hottest day of the year so far. Our reporter Sangeeta Lal spent the day in Southend-on-Sea, which was feeling more like the south of France.
Soaring temperatures as the summer holidays begin. The perfect combination for many in Southend-on-Sea. The beach is busier than years before the pandemic, and as people celebrate being out in the sunshine, businesses here are excited too, as they welcome back furloughed staff to help cope with the rise in demand.
Fortunately, most of those are now back and working. We're coming up to a busy period, so we're recruiting, and we've been able to take on about 20 staff, students and some full-time, which is good that we're earning money, they're earning money. It brings confidence back to the economy and the whole tourism sector, which is fantastic.
And so's the warm breeze that was more than welcome as temperatures reached almost 30 degrees Celsius. More than 80,000 people are expected to visit here over the weekend as families choose to stay local through the summer holidays.
As staycations are encouraged through the summer, weather like this is the perfect advert for a British holiday, and it seems to have made many people here feel like they don't need to go abroad just yet.
I think it's lovely. I mean, look at the weather. You've got the sea over there. What's the difference between here and Spain?
Go away would be a good option, but if it's not, then we can just do local. It's not too bad. London is good. You can do loads of things.
It's been a long time coming, very long time, just to get out again, be allowed to sit on the beach again. It is lovely, yeah, definitely.
As inviting as the sunshine is, coronavirus is still spreading across the country. And with cases continuing to rise, people are being reminded to stick to social distancing rules.
You know, the Delta variant is active in the town, it's active in the UK, so we want people to, whilst they're enjoying themselves, to remain safe as possible.
And with temperatures set to rise even higher tomorrow, the warnings aren't just about coronavirus, but staying cool too, as Britain braces for a heatwave just as the school holidays begin. Sangeeta Lal, ITV News.
And that's all from me. More weather next. Have a very good night.